Everyone, I'm Kristi Phillips. I'm your host for the show. I want to welcome everyone to SoVery Kristi. We will be here every week at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We want to let you know that each week we'll be bringing you a Kristiology. We'll go behind the scenes with an incredible guest each week that may inspire you and or entertain you, or both.
Both.
And then I always like to close the show with a song for the soul. Now, for anyone out there who is watching that's new, I want to introduce myself. Again, I'm Kristi Phillips, and I was raised in Oklahoma in a small town on a farm from about the age of 3 to about 17. And I've always had a huge passion for music since I was about 7 years old. And I've always loved doing hair, believe it or not, since I don't know how old I was, but I was little. And I even...
You were doing my hair earlier.
Yes.
She's doing a great job on it.
I didn't know I was going to love makeup, but I ended up loving that too. And I ended up going to cosmetology school when I was 15. And of course, I've sang and played piano since I was 7, or I started taking lessons. Got my cosmetology license at about 17 years old and moved to Dallas and started pursuing both of those passions. So I've been in several bands along the way. I went to college for music, and shortly after that, I met Linda Septian, and I took some lessons from her for a short time then, and then she would introduce me to someone. I would get in a band here and there, and I'd leave and come back, and all of that takes me back to about a year and a half ago. I went back to Linda again to take voice lessons. And I've been on this incredible journey and have met some amazing, amazing people along the way.
And you're doing amazing.
Well, thank you
very much.
You're doing amazing
and you're doing incredible.
Thank you. And that brings me to, I would love to introduce my co-host, Jens Johnson.
Yay.
And she is not only my co-host and a very dear friend, but she is also my life coach. And she is amazing, let me tell you. And she has really helped me to push myself beyond what I thought possible and beyond what I thought at times I was willing to do. But I just said, okay. I just say, okay, it might take me a minute, but I eventually say, okay, I'm just going to do what she says, because I don't know why. There's been some times along the way where...
Well, I think that it's because we all need to be pushed. We know we want to stay in our comfort zone, and each and every one of us has so much potential. And you will learn, if you haven't already, that Kristi has an amazing voice and she's an amazing person with all this potential, and you were just scared. I just had to push you.
We all have
push you a little bit.
We all have our, fears and doubts along the way, and I've been just like climbing through and busting through those, and I tell you what, having a coach, mentor, someone you love and trust and look up to, which I do look up to you so much.
Thank you.
And
I love you.
I just can't live without her.
You shouldn't have to. You won't. You will never have to.
I will never have to. And I also want to bring on our guest and introduce him. He is amazing. One of the people that I've met being back with Linda Septian, and this is Huntington.
Howdy, y'all.
And I like to call him his branding he's so smart, by the way. You're so smart. And I've listened to him talk about things, and sometimes it's like, woof, but I just keep hanging in there and listening, because he's got so many nuggets, and we're going to talk about some really cool stuff today that has to do with branding. And he's just creative, wildly creative, I think I said you are.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm definitely a nerd. So the way I speak is very quick and a lot of information all at once. So
Yeah.
and I don't know how to use a mic yet. So
That's all right. That's what we're here for you.
24
Yes,
years of
sir.
music and still figuring out the mic.
You can even move the mic closer to you.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I'm saying?
New thing.
I love it. I love it. And I love this
Won't you
new
look at that?
studio.
I do too.
Shout out to On Air Media
Shout
because
out. This is amazing.
we are loving it here. I'm just learning as I go, and I guess I'm a goer, a doer, a goer and a doer.
You are.
And so I may not know what I'm doing at first, but I just go.
That's what you need to do.
Yes.
That's how you learn.
That's
Yes.
exactly right.
And so I did tell you that we are going to be bringing you some fun tips, and I call them Kristiology because they're Kristiologies. And today I want to talk about Kevin Murphy hair products, and particularly this one, Do-Over.
I need
Because
a
you know,
do-over.
there's always those times where you have to do it over. And I love the name of it, first of all. And the other one I didn't bring, but I think we have a picture of it, and it's called Bedroom Hair.
Ooh.
Now that's my hair.
It looks like
And-
bedroom
Men
hair,
and
Kristi.
women.
And, you
I
know, I'm going for the...
It could be a male or
I'm
a
not sure if
female
it's
bedroom
happening
hair.
today, folks, but that's okay because I can do it over.
Exactly.
But it is an incredible product, and I may do a live demo on Huntington over here later. But, you know, it's a great product, and it doesn't feel like hairspray. A lot of times if you keep spraying hairspray, it just weighs your hair down. And this stuff, my hair is very fine, and it's very flat. And it may be very flat right now, so I'm probably demoing that. And if you just spray it underneath, it just holds
Pops it
and
out.
it gives it texture. Because a lot of people have a lot of texture, and I really don't have any texture. And Huntington is kind of in my same ball game with the no texture thing. We're very fine, blonde hair, you know, and that's how it is
Flat.
for most blondes. And yeah, flat, it can be flat, but you know, then some people want that. You always want what you don't have.
That's exactly
But
right.
this can give you some of that, so it's great. And I love Kevin Murphy products. They're good for your hair. They're not, you know, damaging, and they're amazing. So anyway, enough of that, Kevin. So
All right,
Bye-bye, Kevin.
I'm done.
Bye,
Yeah.
Kevin.
thanks, Kevin. He is awesome. I've taken some classes from Kevin Murphy, and he is amazing, and got his start doing models that, you know, don't eat. I heard they don't eat, and their hair always.
Well, that's not us.
That's not
We
my.
like to eat.
I,
We
in
like to
fact,
eat.
don't have that issue. Okay, I can
Right.
eat. I love to eat. I love food, but and that's why my hair's so healthy. But you know, he really did start that way with the models who don't. You know, aren't always nutritionally sound, and then they have to change their hair all the time, and so a lot of time it's damaged, and that's how he started creating these amazing products that just do wonders for your hair, the health of it, and all of that. Okay, I said enough of that, Kevin.
Okay.
All right, so Huntington, I would love to go behind the scenes with you.
Certainly.
We're jamming to that tune right there. You know, that tune, I just got to give a shout out to Remington. He's amazing. And
Which
he and I are
is-
writing some songs together, and
Which
he's
is
so good.
Huntington's brother.
It is. They're brothers.
Keep it in the family.
They're bros. They got some creative juices flowing.
That's
so,
right.
I mean,
it's in
I'm
the
telling you,
genes. It's in
Yes.
the genes.
absolutely.
We're a little bit different, but
They are. I mean,
A lot bit.
They're totally different, but they're totally both amazing, and they have their own gifts and talents, as we all do. We all are unique, and we have our. I'm stealing this from this one over here. We all have our own gifts and our own talents, and we're here to talk about Huntington's gifts and
my
talents.
gifts and talents.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Well, I do creative strategy, or I try to and attempt to, but every day I find out something new that I didn't know, and I figured out, oh, now I'm in creative strategy. Oh, now I'm in creative strategy. It happens every day. And having part of having a life coach is definitely pushing you out of the comfort zone, and that's definitely part of branding. A lot of the days, if I'm branding an artist, the issue is finding that brand and finding those anchors that people enjoy, that people relate to, that inspire them, and that's the difficulty of it.
Do you feel when you're working with someone regarding their brand, so to speak, do they have any idea themselves, or do they want you to kind of coach them through it all?
Some more than others,
Okay.
and it has to do with the way you perceive your hardships, really. It's about how do you go through it or you grow through it, right? And
That's true. I love that.
Exactly. You should always grow through your hardships. I mean, everyone knows this, right? Take your negative, turn it into positive. But what it really does for you is it defines, okay, this isn't going to be, the problem's not going to be my defining factor. The solution will be, though. How I go about making this the best product for me is the way I'm going to brand myself. And what that means is showing your characteristics or your intrinsic value.
Absolutely.
And how did you get started doing that?
Well, that's a very good question. More and more artists back in the day didn't have to have this two-way conversation with the crowd. It was, you're really good, you're Jimi Hendrix, you play guitar, you're amazing, you're a great songwriter, everything's done, you're on the stage, you're playing to the crowd. But now it's about this engagement of going back and forth, and it's a conversation really is what it is. And how you engage that crowd is very, very important. And with Jimmy, it's a different era. It's a different way of talking to the audience. You're just telling the audience what they need to be heard. Now it's everybody wants this kind of attention because attention's the currency of the day.
Right. Well, now with social media, that's the thing is before you didn't really have a platform where you could get to know artists. Now with the social media platforms, everybody wants to know the celebrities. They want to know the artists. They want to be behind the scenes like we are with you right now, behind the scenes.
They want different facets, and part of that is how do you build a brand big enough and enough channels large enough to where people can continue to consume your brand. And whether that be you're an NFL athlete and you have your Spotify playlist that is your top 10 songs before you get on the field. That is something that an NFL player could do today and add brand value immediately and immediately gain followers on Spotify. And then they can turn that into a curation. And there's so many ways and ability to create revenue through branding and brand awareness that it's now developed to something that's such a behemoth that two-way conversation that's occurring is how do you structure it? And how do you develop a quick conversation with the audience so they know exactly who you are immediately?
So is that what you do with people? So tell us, when you meet with someone from the beginning to end, what do you do? Because I know most people, if you're in business of any kind in any industry, you know you need to brand yourself, but they don't know where to start.
Right, and it's a difficult ask because you have to look at yourself objectively, and what's even harder is you have to figure out objectively what are you telling these people, and most of the time you can't do it alone. It's
there's no way you can. There's no way you can.
And the other side of it is, I mean, the best thing that's ever worked out for like let's say a homemade test is for you to, if you're branding yourself on Instagram or anywhere, wherever your outcome is of that brand, via content generation, whatever that is, you ask 10 people, say, look at this content, look at my Instagram, or look at my Spotify, look at my songs, write down 10 words. It could be numbers, it could be words, it could be a shape, it doesn't matter, but don't put parameters around it, just let people do it. And out of the times I've done it for artists and did it for, with a sample group of 15, I would say about 14 of them would write one word that's similar in all of them. And that's amazing to me. That means that a continuous and a very, I should say, consistent message is being produced, whether you're meaning to or not. Now, if that's good for your brand, great. Let's take it, let's make it an anchor, and let's figure out how we can make it a platform that we can build content on. If it isn't something you want, then maybe we need to change it.
Yeah.
Well, how do you go about changing that? Just kind of weed it out, whatever that is that you're doing?
It depends. Like, if you're trying to get rid of a part of your brand that's bad, obviously just deleting the content's the first step, right? But the second thing is really going outside that comfort zone, because when you're in the comfort zone, you're inside of your brand, and we call that brand integrity. When you go outside your comfort zone and something that someone's not used to, we call that brand expansion. And the two verse each other all the time.
So do you work primarily just with artists?
Yeah.
Yeah, just with artists. And I would think it's totally a different animal, is it not? Or is it just pretty much the same?
Well, products are different in the way that you look at, so, I mean, I look at artists as products, because at the end of the day, I'm selling a product.
You're a product, Kristi. You're Kristi. You're a product, Kristi.
And I'm selling that to, I'm selling it to a TV show. I'm selling to whomever I can to make sure that that story is told correctly and in the quickest way possible. But when it's an actual product, like something you go into CVS and buy, which I've done branding for, if it's something like that, when you go in, it's actually taking that product and forming it to fit the market. So it's a different thing. Whereas the other way around, I'm taking the anchors and pulling them out of the person and trying to make those the most protruding features.
How do you know, like we were talking the other day and you were saying, I have my notes right here, so you were saying, you know, like, how do you know to do what everyone else is doing, or do you do your own thing, or, you know?
So, okay, great example. I mean, well, let me start with my basis. So, I mean, kind of going back from how I grew up and how I look at branding in general, it's a very abstract field, right? There are data points. You can look at, you know, what is the market doing and how do I tailor myself to that? Yes, but at the end of the day, you're looking at these large abstract concepts and you go, well, how do I take my life and apply it so that I can get this brand message per se? And it's a series of algorithms you have to do yourself in your head. What was your
do an algorithm?
That sounds hard to me.
What I mean,
That's making me sweat.
what I mean by that is, okay, so if you want to tailor yourself to the market, but then how do you do that? You have to ask yourself, and I'm a very dualistic person in this space, because I go, okay, how do you become relatable versus how do you become inspirational? Those are two different things.
I've got that down.
Right? If you're relatable, what happens?
Yeah.
You know, we're on the same platform, right?
Right.
We're looking at each other in the eyes.
Okay.
That's cool.
Right.
So we're able to talk to each other. But if you're inspirational, what's that person? That person's above you and you're looking up to them, right? In the same space, if you could do both of those things at one time in one piece of content, you've won the game. Period and sentence.
I'm winning. I'm winning. So I think you're winning too.
Am I? I'm not sure on the brand thing, but
I think you're winning.
I'm gonna win.
But
If I'm not winning, I'm gonna win.
Okay, so here's the thing though, is back in the day, I mean, we're a little bit older than Huntington is, but back in the day,
2 or 3 years.
basically, your brand is your character. I mean, you know, it's like I think of Oprah. Oprah built her brand, but she was just herself. She was so authentic and she was just real. And I think, you know, obviously that was pre-social media and everything, but I think to me, when you're building your brand, the more real you can be, the better. I mean, is that true?
Oh, totally. And I mean, even more so today, right? You look at how social media has created this ultra transparency. You don't have any room to BS. There is no room. You have to be honest. You have to be consistent. That is what creates trust with your audience. And
That's
talking
right.
about that intrinsic value, you look at Oprah, across the line, she's consistent.
Exactly.
And with her audience, that creates an expectation or a trust. And that is a value that can never be added with money.
Right. I love that trust.
Yeah.
That's the truth, though, because people have to trust you.
No matter what it is, on the smallest level or the biggest level, you know.
But there are some, I mean, I call them the posers. You know what I mean?
Of course, and I've worked with all the posers too, and I branded them, but I brand them a different way.
How do you brand a poser?
You brand them for the market.
Okay, I got you.
And the poser has to have good work ethic.
And they have to keep posing the right way.
Yeah, or pivoting that pose to keep the right way. And it's a very tiring thing to do, because to keep up what the market is doing all the time,
changes all the time.
It's almost impossible. I can't even keep up with that every day. So the work ethic is really what has to be there for the posers.
But you can I mean, I know one of our good friends is Jamal Adams. We grew up with him. We know his family. He was the number 6 draft pick last year in the NFL. He plays for the Jets. If you go look at his Instagram, I mean, he is on fleek every day. He looks like he's got somebody that follows him around that's taking pictures of him all the time. So obviously he's got somebody with him and doing all that professional stuff. But if you've got somebody that's just starting out, what do you recommend for those people that are just starting out with their branding? They don't have a ton of money. I mean, what are your recommendations for them to get started with their branding?
Well, just starting out, really, I mean, content generation is a difficult animal, right? It's how do you make it professional, but then how do you make it amateur if it needs to be amateur? If you do the in-between, it looks bad. But it could be so bad that could be your brand. So it's all this craziness. But I mean, for tips of how do you create a great Instagram, or how do you find that branding, it's really find a structure that works for you, because going back to that consistency part, you look at that. If I post every week for 3 days, or we did the show every week for 4 weeks, and then the next week we stop, what happens to your audience? They drop off, or they don't think it's going to happen next week. What happens is you just took that consistency, you took that trust, and you said, nope. And now they fall off the map. So finding a structure and channels that work for you. Maybe it's not Instagram. Maybe for the NFL players, it's just Twitter and literally that Spotify list. It might just be that. NFL players have a great privilege of being on a platform such as the NFL. So they have a head start in that round, where the rest of us are starting from the ground up. We don't have this huge company that is able to, that we're able to build a platform off of. And so you really have to think, okay, what can I do on a daily basis? What can I do on a weekly basis? And how does this relate to who I am personally? You really look at those integrous factors. What creates brand integrity is consistency, right? Going back to that. What creates that is those super fans. That is what you want. So if they aren't biting, either you haven't expanded in the right market, or your content is just not relating well enough. Right,
that's true. Now, say you got someone like Kristi, who they're like, okay, look, I'm ready to start working with someone professionally for branding. What are just some tips of people that are watching for any industry? Like, what do you look for people that you want to start working with regarding your brand?
So, I mean, when I work with people, it's usually a 6-hour conversation, or me knowing them for a very long time, and I'm able to piece together some fundamental principles, and what that looks like is going, okay, is this person like nature? Okay, they do. Everyone likes nature. Do you like to travel? Everyone likes to travel. Okay, these are things everyone loves to do. So what makes you unique? What makes you you, right? And then figuring out and driving that all the way back to literally that foundational point. And part of that is what we're working with Kristi last week. I don't want to touch on it too much, but a lot of it was going back into her history and driving those points and going, okay, if this is what we're trying to say, if this is true, then there should be a story behind it that supports it, right?
Right.
No BS, it's consistent. So then what we do is we drive that, we go back in history, find those pivotal moments that created that foundation, that intrinsic value, and then we take that and make that part of her story, make that part of her brand.
I love it.
And that's why I say hardships are the best.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
true.
And
it's interesting because some people don't want to talk about their hardships, but that's what makes people relatable.
Because everybody has gone through something.
Oh, absolutely. And they still are.
Exactly. For sure.
They still are.
But if you're testing out a platform, what's a good test time frame to give something before you don't?
Good question.
Before you know. Like, well, and then do you just back out of it, or do you just keep a little bit there and then focus more over here, or,
Well, I mean, you're really looking at not metrics of acquisition, fan acquisition. You're really looking at engagement metrics. How open is the audience to receiving your content, and how much are they engaging in it? That's the important part. Not how many fans do you have.
Right.
We can get to that point. That's brand expansion. That's really marketing in that field. That's what we call the quick baiting action. So it might be changing your hair every day to a different color. Maybe that color's not your brand, right? That pink isn't your brand, but what is your brand is the fact that you are okay to be so flippant with your hair color.
Right.
So it's
all right,
baiting
Kristi,
them in.
I might see some pink hair in your future.
Ooh, that scares me. Even as a hairdresser, like, I've never been one to radically change my hair color.
But I totally get his point, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally get it.
Yeah, because it gets attention, and you're like, did it get the right attention or not so good?
It's got to be destructive.
Yeah.
And the point is to make this funnel this big, right? To make this huge funnel that you can capture all these people, and then at the very end of it, the people that you want, the people that are super fans that really tie into your brand and really bite into it, invest with clicks, invest with time, invest with that physical effort, with that money. When they're doing that, those are the people you want.
Right.
So that's why engagement metrics are the biggest ones in the beginning.
But you know what I think, I remember one time hearing a story, and it was just what you were saying, that it's really not the number of fans, it's engagement. And it's the people that are your super fans. And this guy was telling the story about Dr. Phil, where, he was living his life here in Dallas, having a great time, and he met Oprah, and Oprah became one of his biggest super fans.
Oh, wow.
And it was Oprah becoming one of his biggest super fans that caused him to really explode and got the exposure. So it is so true that it's not about how many fans, it's how many super fans that are real, that are engaged with you because they love what you're all about.
Right. And I mean that, and the 80-20 rule always stands true. You're always going to have, out of 100% of your fans, 20% of your fans are going to make 80% of your revenue. That is true for artists. That's crazy to me, though, to think about that.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that in the business world, too.
Yeah, 80-20 is always the truth. It's a fact.
It's law.
Yeah.
It's the law.
80-20, don't forget that, y'all. Yeah, this has been some great information. I know I could probably pick your brain all day.
We can keep it going. I love talking.
Are there any other tips that you have that we haven't talked about that you think would be good?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back, and I really want to stress this point of what is brand expansion versus what's brand integrity, and expansion techniques being the quick baiting action, right? Think about how motivated are they to look at your content, to click through your content, and what is motivating them, and then what is their ability to do so, right? To hit a like is really easy. To hit a follow is a little bit harder. But on YouTube, to hit a follow and to hit the little bell so you get notifications every time you get a video, that's ultra difficult. Same thing with Instagram. To look at a picture is really easy. That's consuming your content. To hit like, a little bit harder, a little more physical effort, right? To read the caption, a little bit more, that's 3. But if your caption has an entire paragraph at the bottom of it, 5 sentences, now they get to bite into your brand a little bit more, and that's the 4th one right there. And then they'll go, oh, wow, I really love this brand, I really love this person, really love Kristi. I want to bite into it more. So then they go to Kristi's page and press follow.
I love it.
Or videos. I mean, that's the best. Is that the best way to get people's attention, do you think? Or
nowadays, definitely.
Yes,
I mean, for the artists out there, looking at just kind of a couple of case studies I've done in the past is going to go, if you're putting out an album on Spotify or an EP or anything on Spotify, it's better to sing it, and this is crazy, but it's better to sing it live on a portrait video and then post it in your newsfeed with that being the link to your Spotify. Because they already heard your song. Why would they go to Spotify to listen to it again?
That's good.
It's better to give them the raw and then see, hey, this is what it sounds like developed. And they love both because ground level engagement is what's in, and going back to transparency, that is what's in. And if that is in, then let's be raw, let's be organic, let's be authentic, let's be consistent, let's add those intrinsic values into our brand, and let's pick them out and really showcase them.
I think I want to become an entertainer.
I mean, I know we got more work to do on me.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, you definitely have to come back. As you two work together more and more, you have to come back so then you can show everybody what your brand is evolving into. That'll be great.
That would be fun. We definitely have to do that. Thank you so much for being here.
Definitely. I enjoyed it.
Well, I have a little treat for everybody. I'm going to actually sing live today.
There we go.
This is organic.
This is organic.
It's raw.
I'm going to have a little background music, right, Rick? Something told me it was over when I saw you and her talking. Something deep down in my soul said, cry, girl. When I saw you and that girl walking around, ooh, I would rather I would rather go blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, child. No. I was just sitting here thinking of your kiss and your warm embrace, yeah. And baby, I'd rather be blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. So that was my little treat for you, Song for the Soul, and I love that you came and tuned in, and we'll be back next week at 2 o'clock.